That's why we'd like to talk to you about Fan Cave Tickets, one of our first ever sponsors that we had on Hockey in the Fort. Fan Cave Tickets deals in all sports for tickets as a ticket broker. You can give them a shout anytime, and they will give you great deals with absolutely no fees on tickets for any game that they cover. Anything from the NHL, AHL, ECHL, and more hockey, as well as baseball, football, NFL included, and college football, everything else. So all you need to do is get on your phones, go to their website at fancavetickets.com, or give them a shout at 800-936-5338 and ask for Nathan Long and tell him that Hockey in the Fort sent you, and he'll be happy to help you with anything you need. And if you're looking for Komets tickets, make sure you call him ahead of time, and he will have several different offers for you for every home game of the season and even some away games. So again, give everybody a shout up there at Fan Cave Tickets, fancavetickets.com, or the number mentioned earlier. Ask for Nathan Long and tell him that Hockey in the Fort sent you. All right, guys, welcome to episode 12 with Olivier and special guest everybody knows, Ben Boudreau. Feel free to comment, ask all the questions you want. We'll try to get to all of them as long as it doesn't take us 3 hours. And we'll go from there. So we're going to go ahead and start. We do have a live audience here. So we're going to go ahead and start and let people ask questions first.
Even before asking questions, I think we have to recognize where we are.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
You know, this is a pretty special place right in here.
Yeah.
We're not tucked into the corner, but a lot of years of history within this house.
Yep.
So Ruth, I know nobody can see her right now, but we have the Comet mother of all mothers joining us, and we're hosting this at her beautiful home here. And she has been with the Komets for how many years? Since the beginning. So she's very young, and she's been the number one dedicated fan here, and we've been happy to do this at her house. So Ruth, thanks for hosting us today.
Thank you. Appreciate it a lot.
Talk to her? You talk to her?
I would love to talk to Ruth. Absolutely love
You
to.
can say whatever you want to say.
I want to know, in 68 years, you've seen a lot, pretty much done everything. This isn't even the first time to host media in your home.
No.
But what are you most looking forward to this season?
A win. You know, I've got a lot of children, and I've got quite a few rings, but I don't have as many championship rings as I have children. So I'd like to have another ring, please. And I don't have one in this league.
Well, I'm glad you're not asking for too much. So that's a good thing, Ruth.
Well, we
the next
fed
question
you
is,
good.
how many kids do you have, little kids?
I got 4 natural, but I got more than that rings. But I got grandchildren.
How many grandchildren?
4 natural, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, 4 natural and great grandchildren. We don't need rings for them, but I would
Okay.
like them for all the
Okay.
grandchildren.
This is the one thing I love, is that there is no hiding what everybody wants. That's the expectation every single year here in Fort Wayne. So knowing the history, how many years it's been in operation, how many times they've made the playoffs, and how many championships they've won, that's the expectation every year. And I don't think a lot of organizations have got to that point where, you know, that's the expectation. I think a lot, they have no idea how the year is going to go, what their team's going to look like, whether they're going to have success or not. But the one thing in Fort Wayne you always have a chance to do is win, just because of the history, and it's somewhere that people love coming to and playing for. So I think we've got off to a great start, and I know we haven't played a single game, but that's going to be the intention when the puck drops on October 12th.
Well, you know, I think that as long as the boys come and want to play, our fans support them. The only times I've ever seen the fans not support a player is when he's here with a bad attitude. I don't care what his record is. Don't come here if you don't want to be here, because we want you here, and we're going to support you all the way.
You heard it here first, the new assistant coach, Ruth. Couldn't have delivered that message any better myself. That is so true, though. I think you have to have a commitment, 100% commitment to be here, because if you're not, it gets found out pretty quick through the media or through the perceptive fans, such as yourself. But that's one of the things. I think we've got a lot of people that want to be here, that are dying to be here, and they all want an opportunity to win. And I think when you look at our constructed roster after training camp, you'll see how many winners that we have here in the locker room. That was an intentional part of building this team, is to surround ourselves with winners and leaders, and a lot of people that have worn the captaincies and assistant captains over the past years. And I think it's just so important that you can never have enough of those people. You get down to the gritty times in the playoffs, and when you've had somebody that's been there before, they know what to do. They know what it's like to go through that. So if you've had somebody win before, they can bring that experience to the team. And I think we're lucky to have a lot of guys that have won on the roster this year. So we got lucky in the summer with landing some pretty big signings. I'm really anxious to see how they all turn out.
I think we're lucky to have you back, Ben. I remember when you were here real young and you wanted to come back, and that's number one thing. You're wanting to be here, and we want you here.
Well, thanks very much. It's actually funny because I always told myself that if I was going to be a head coach, you'd want to give yourself the best opportunity to win or have success wherever you go. And I don't think you know what you're getting into in any other organization, but when you take over the reins in Fort Wayne, you know you're going to have every advantage and every opportunity to win. So my wife and I, we were extremely lucky to be a part of the Edmonton Oilers organization for 3 years, and loved where we were living in Virginia Beach and had an opportunity to remain there. But when David came asking if we wanted to be a part of the Komet family, it wasn't even a thought process. It was, okay, when can we sign? When can we get here? And, 3 years later, we're kind of enjoying every single thing it's got to offer. And I'll always remember the words that David and Michael said in the first interview. They said, Ben, we're not going to make you rich, but we're going to treat you like gold. And I think that's the same thing that every player that's walked through these doors, they can probably say the exact same thing, because it's such a great place to play, great place to live, that those are, a lot of the common things that have just happened year after year, decade after decade here in Fort Wayne. So there's no better spot. I don't think we could be any more excited to get the season going. We just can't speed up time, and we just got to be patient until the day gets here.
Or have a party while you're waiting.
Or have a party while we're waiting. Absolutely.
To follow up on Benny here for Root, with people looking at the video and they like, whose Ruth is she's like a mom to any player that came and played here, a second mom, I should say. And when my first year I was here, I was new to this team, and Guy Dupree, that you had the chance to have lived in this house, and he told me, well, I set up a dinner with a couple players and you're just gonna go eat with Root. And I was like, okay, it's fine. So here we are, we come here, great food, rolling out of the door, and next thing you know, we're not done, we're playing cards, and we played cards for 2 hours, and she beat us every time. So wonder how she's cheating, but no,
some of them cheated in French, because I don't know French.
Yeah, we did have a little technique, we could talk a little French at the table, but weren't cheating. But it's just awesome mom to every player that came here, and just what makes the Komets such a great organization is people like you. And once again, thanks for having us tonight or this afternoon.
We're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see you on the ice.
Well, is this the first public appearance since officially being named the assistant?
It is. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Speaking with confidence too. I like that. All right.
Yeah.
We can brag about that.
Absolutely.
Watch out for your job.
What's that?
Watch out for your job.
I know. He's better looking. He's bigger, stronger. You never know. You never
No,
know.
but I mean, this
I
is
think you're both good-looking guys.
Thanks.
I'd claim you both for sons.
Oh, you're
you
a
talk
liar,
about 2010 or today? No, but a little comment here, taking his job. To be honest, I mean, my goal is not to take Benny's job. My goal is just to support him and just try to make him better and try to win together. That's our goal, and I think that's what makes us such a strong a partnership, if you want. And I think there's confidence, there's support, there's trust. It's all good elements to have a good working relationship. And I think he trusts me enough to when I don't agree with him, to tell him. And I think it's a big he'll never argue with me until we have to fight, because I think he knows who's going to lose that. But no, I mean, it's a great working relationship, and I think we have a great friendship enough to tell ourselves the truth when we don't agree, and at the end of the day, we can still have a good day even if we don't agree on something.
Yeah, and when we were going through this interview process, for anybody that doesn't know, the assistant coach's job, and in Fort Wayne, it's highly sought after. There's a lot of people that would love to be here, love to live in the city and be a part of this team, this organization. And there was a lot of resumes, and I think the biggest thing for a first-year head coach going in there is everybody that I would reach out to advice. They always said, you have to get somebody you can trust. Trust has to be the number one thing. The loyalty factor, trusting that when your back is turned, they're reciprocating the same type of message that you're sending out there. And that goes, in any team, in any league, in any sport. And when we looked at everybody with everything that Olivier's done here for the last years, and the fact he's been a winner and his work ethic is second to none, and we've got this great relationship. And like he said, he won't be afraid to voice his own opinion, whether I think he's right or wrong. And that's what you want. You want somebody challenging some of the decisions you're making or some of the thought processes you have. And, our wives are making fun of us because they think that we're developing a relationship on the side. We talk to each other so much, but it's a healthy thing to be able to communicate and bounce ideas off each other. So when you surround yourself with good people, you enjoy going to the rink every single day. It's a lot of fun. It's been great. And I'm not saying that we haven't in the last 2 years. It's just knowing that we're going to be back together and we got a great staff. I think when people see that, it becomes the ripple effect that goes into the room and then onto the ice as well too.
His height helps too. He can see what you can't.
Absolutely.
And he can fit where I can't, so it's good.
So it's a great working relationship already. That's perfect. Good one, Ruth. Is there any questions out there? The last time we did a podcast was pretty early in the summer. We've had some player signings since then. Maybe some you've heard about, some you haven't. But
and for people that don't know, you guys can't see them. There's about 30, 35 people here at this little afternoon gathering. 50 people. So I'll give you an idea of how many people is in the back, and you guys can ask questions.
We do have one question from one of our viewers.
Yeah.
What's the one thing that you two are looking forward to most with this season and the new team and your goal outside of winning?
Quarterback.
The first game. Shane Albarani won't let me forget how big the first game is, and I know what it's like. You take this job knowing there's going to be pressure and there's going to be a lot of expectations, especially the better players you get on this team. But the excitement, the build-up. I mean, we're so antsy with all the planning we've done. I sacrificed an entire month away from my family just to be in this office to work to make sure we get the pieces we need to be here. And it's been a grind every single day since we took over here, and we're really excited because I think we've got a great base. We've got so many great ideas and plans that have been implemented already, and now all we can do is just kind of sit back and wait for training camp outside of a few last minute things. So that first game on October 12th, when you have a packed Coliseum and everybody and their brothers at that building and the hype around the city in a whole new to start or culture, it's just that first game is going to be a really good experience. And whatever the result is, I think you got to enjoy almost every single second because you only get one crack at a first impression. So that's something I'm really looking forward to.
And same here, being a new coaching staff, us working together is not new, but it's a new coaching head coach and new assistant coach, is to put our stamp on it. And our stamp is be good communicator. I want us to be, we want to be great with communication. And if we're great with communication with our players, staff, everybody, it'll lead to trust. And if you have communication and good trust, it'll bring respect from everybody because they know what page you're on. They'll respect what you're doing, even if maybe they don't agree, but they know the game plan. They know where you're going. So there's no miscommunication between everybody, the players, the coach, the staff, everybody. Obviously, the fans, we can't tell you everything, but we just want to be good communicator, be good with the fans. Just like when I played, I took pride in being back with the community, and it's all stuff that I want to keep doing, that we want to keep doing as an organization.
All right, so we got another question that was messaged in a minute ago,
Yeah.
and I think it's the hot question everybody has, and you knew this was going to come up. The exact wording is, why in the hell did you go after AJ Jinx? The exact words, I quote.
For the same reason you hate him. For anybody that dislikes him, those are the exact reasons that we went out and got a guy like this. Because if he can frustrate the opponent that much. I mean, he stands out for a reason. If he didn't stand out, he'd just be another vanilla guy, but he's found a way to have a decade in pro hockey. It doesn't happen often. He always helps elevate his teams to championship level. He's been a proven player, and not just on the statistic, but there's so many areas that he helps that I don't think people see on a daily basis, because you don't count face-offs win, which leads to puck possession, which leads to your overall chances of the team scoring goals. You don't see what he does on a daily basis inside the locker room. You don't see his veteran presence on the young guys. I mean, the fans see the AJ Jenks that we all hated, including myself. I hated playing against this guy. We would come up with game plans and try to shut him down, but he was so good, and he was so prominent, or he had such a prominent role with Toledo that you'd have to devise some sort of plan to neutralize him. And so for all those reasons, when you have him on your side, you don't have to worry about that. You have to make the other team start worrying about that. And so, with a whole new core coming in, we lost Jamie Shasma and Solar, and Haji moved on, and Sid's the only veteran coming back. So to have somebody like that's been proven, that can, I think, fit seamlessly into that role, I think it's really, really important to have somebody like that. So we're really excited to have him join us. And for anybody out there that has their eyebrows raised, or might not have liked him just from being a fan of the Komets, you just give it a couple games and you see what he does on the ice, and I think he'll change your impression pretty quick. He's great to have in the orange and black.
Yeah, and to follow up on this, I mean, you guys all here love Schrocky, right? Would I be wrong to say that? Well, I can tell you every other team probably hated Schrocky. They hated to go play against him and see him in the stands. He's probably getting booed. Well, you can compare that to the same example. And a typical player like Woodsy, back in when I played, just you hate those players. But when they're on your team, they just play the right way. And it's just it's a good thing that's buzzing effect of us signing him. Because when we sign the players and it's not making it's cricket, well, it's not a good sign usually. So it's good, and they'll just love to just give him a chance, and you hated him, but you'll probably get up at getting a jersey and loving him at the end of the year.
As a plug there too, guys, September 20th, not to tout our own horns there, but we do have Sid and Jenks on together, and they want to clear the air about the injury and everything else in the past. So make sure you tune in there.
Yeah, no, I think that'll be something good. I mean, you have to respect the amount of years that Sean Sadlowski has put here in Fort Wayne. He's put his body through a ton. I mean, I've seen this guy being wheelchaired off a plane into a playoff game, and he still found a way to make a difference. I mean, this guy's an absolute warrior. And, I know there was that injury history, but before we even thought about this a couple months ago and trying to recruit Jenks out of respect, we called Sean and say, hey, what do you think? He says, well, he's a great player. You hate playing against that guy, but obviously become teammates. And there's a lot of excitement. They've been going back and forth all summer. They're both Michigan kids, and I'm going to try to save some for the podcast here, but this is a blossoming friendship and a relationship that I think can do a lot of damage on the ice. I mean, these may be two of the top veterans in and around our league, possibly playing on the same line, definitely on the same team. So we're lucky to have the both of them. So we're really excited to see what they bring, and they've got huge roles on this team, not just for what they do on the ice, but off the ice and in the community as well too. So those are all really exciting things for us.
And one last point for Jenks. One of my main job for the last 3 years, being helping Gary and Ben, my main job was taking face-offs and doing face-off stats and seeing who's better against who and all that. And one thing I can tell you is AJ Jenks is the best in the league for face-off, and that's one thing we'll get to have on our side. And you'll appreciate that. If you're Game 7, Kelly Cup, and there's a minute left, or you got to protect a goal or get a special face-off, he's the guy you want on the ice. So no pressure, AJ, but
He is watching, by the way. He did log on. So.
It was the same role though, like Chalker. I could never win a face-off against Chalker, and I was a face-off guy. And so, those little things go into game plans. I don't think anybody sees. So it's it's important. We're happy to have a guy like that, but I don't want to overshadow anybody else that we have on this team, because he's just going to be one building block, albeit a big building block, but he's one piece that is going to help to make this thing whole. So we're lucky to have him. And once you sign the deal, now you just can't wait to opening day.
We got another question from Larry. Would you rather players dump and chase or carry the puck farther into the offensive zone?
I think there's going to be a time for that. I mean, it was infamous what Gary talked about, the turnovers last year, but there's a time to make sure you manage the puck at crucial times of games, crucial areas of the ice. But then you also want your guys making plays at the same time. You don't want them to be robots. You got to give the creative guys, you got to give them the ability to go and be creative. They can't be robots. You can't turn, somebody like a scorer into a checker. You can't turn a checker into a scorer. You got to put people in the right position. So if there's space to make a play, absolutely. And if they make a mistake, you're going to coach them through it and educate them through it. You're not going to rip their head off so they won't do it again. You got to find ways to get the most out of them. So for Larry's question, there's a time and place to dump the puck, and maybe you're protecting the lead. You don't want to risk a turnover at the crucial parts of the game, and maybe you need a goal, so you might start making plays in areas of the ice. Otherwise you wouldn't start making them. So it's all dictated on where and when the game. You got to manage the ebb and flow. We got 72 regular season games, so there's that's going to change minute by minute depending on where we are within the game.
Yeah, that dump and chase, it doesn't work. It's a quick turnover, but as we saw with postseason of the NHL last year, that dump and chase does work if it's done right.
Absolutely, masterfully.
Yeah,
Just saying.
Absolutely. I mean, if you got a dump and chase team with guys that are all 5'6", I mean, it might not be that effective because you can't forecheck well. But you look at the roster we've constructed. I think we've got 12 forwards signed, or we will have 12 by next week, and every single one of them, outside of Anthony Petruzzelli and Bowdens and Toro, I mean, that's 75% of our team's over 6 feet tall. We're going to have a monster of a team. You're looking at Brady Shaw, who can hit with the best of them. AJ Jenks is a monster. Sid's an aggressive guy. Brad Ross, the fans are going to love this guy. Brett McKenzie, I think, could be a future AJ Jenks with his career. And I'm going to save the other guy for next week until we announce him. I haven't mentioned the rookie of the year, 6'1", Jake Camras, a national champion, and Matt Bowden, Alan Lasarchuk, Gage Toro. Who am I forgetting here? Taylor Ross. I mean, we got a lot of guys that can either play the skill game, the forechecking game, the physical game, go to the net dirty. I mean, it's been versatile. And, one of the things we said we're going to do with building this team is we weren't going to leave any stone, unturned, or we went after the guys we thought that would fit all those, the guys that could play multiple positions, fit well in the room. And, we kind of pinch ourselves right now because it's gone very well with some of the additions that we've had. And I haven't talked about defense at all today. But those are all a lot of things that you keep looking forward to. So I'm excited to see what everybody can do.
Since you mention it, how about the defense?
Where do you want me to start?
Well, you talked about the forwards. How do you feel about the defensemen, the pairings that you might have? I mean, I think it's going to be awesome.
Here's one thing I think. I mean, especially being a new team and for us to tell us how players are going to react, I think our first 5-10 games, it's for us to find a good line combination and be patient and see what works with who. And because, it's like anything. I mean, you might statistically think it's the best line, but there might be no chemistry. Yep. They might not work well together. So that's what me and Benny, when the first couple of weeks, we got to figure out, we've got an idea of who we want to put together. But after 10 games, we might say, oh, you know what? They look good together, but they don't play good together. So we just got to make sure we're open to change and just to make sure we find the right combination. So, and for the dump and chase hockey, I mean, we just want them to make the best play available at the time. And they're going to make mistakes. We all made mistakes when we played. And it's just about if they compete hard and play hard, that's all we want to ask them. They're not lazy. Then if they make mistakes doing that, it's part of the game. So
with defense, I mean, you brought back Jason Binkley, who I think is going to be a huge leader for you. And then Stewie's back. Do you expect him to be a big part of the leadership too now, since he's going to be a returning player, even though he was only here for kind of a short time last year?
25 games, and Stewie is it's so hard to find right shot defensemen right now. I mean, they're an absolute gold mine. If you can get one, you hang on for dear life. I mean, Jason Binkley is as good as they come. He would have been a veteran this year if he didn't break his arm. Which it's unfortunate for him. We missed him in the worst way come playoffs. I mean, this guy just embodies everything you ever want in a player and a human and just everything. We're so fortunate to have a guy like Jason back there and not count as a veteran. I think that's huge for us. And Stewie, one game over being a rookie. He's still young, but he's more than capable. His physical presence, I think fans are going to learn to love out there as he plays a full season with us. He's got one of the hardest shots I've seen from the back end, and guys love him. He's a character, and he almost looks like Brent Burns out there, and he's well beloved. I'm happy we're going to get him here because he came in to our roster late. I thought he was maybe 1 foot in, 1 foot out by Christmas. Didn't know what he was going to do with school, and he went to school and realized just how much he loved Fort Wayne, and that's where we've gotten the full commitment from him. So I would expect nothing but the best from Chase this season. So he's one of those young bright guys I think some fans are a little familiar with, but I think he's primed for a big role this year.
I think we actually, what did we call him last year? Big Baby Crunk?
Yeah.
Yeah, Big Baby Crunk.
Oh yeah, when they got the beard going, they look like twins.
Yeah, just a little height difference.
Yeah.
See, any questions from fans? See about getting a mic.
So right now you've only got 2 vets. You planning on more?
Yes.
That's fair enough.
Nice, short, crisp answer.
No,
there.
we've got a tentative contract out there to one guy right there, and I'm not gonna start a rumor mill or anything going on, but 3 would be the perfect number for the start of the season. You never know what happens. You want to leave your self some availability, but one of the things to remember too is, like, we were the oldest team last year in the league, and I think it was by far. And one of the problems we had was consistency. We couldn't do one thing for one night and the same thing the next night. And I don't know if age plays a factor to that, but it's great to have vets. But you look at our team, and like I said, you've got Jason Binkley, who doesn't count as a vet, but he's going to play and lead like a veteran. Then you got Brad Ross. It's the same situation. He played 3 years off an NHL deal, then went to Germany for 4 years. This is an 8-year pro that's coming in, but he still doesn't count as a veteran. There's a lot of guys like that. So we have Jenks and Sidlowski officially, and I'm hoping to announce something next week, as long as we can come to terms. And I think we should be pretty much set with our roster outside of maybe 3 more contracts before the start of the season, and 2 of those we've already proposed, and we're going to leave 1 open as a just wait and see, because a lot of guys are still unsigned right now, and they don't know where they're going to go. So if we load up at this point and somebody else comes available, we'd be kicking ourselves in the back end if we didn't have room to sign them. So we feel really, really comfortable with where we're at right now. And like I said, unless somebody kind of comes out of the woodwork late, I think that's probably what we'll end up starting the season with.
Yep.
So you have a big diversity of players with backgrounds and personalities, and chemistry is really important, especially when you're talking just your major line, but you also have your power play line and when you're trying to kill the power play. How do you intentionally build that chemistry so that it's not only just with one other guy, but maybe 3 or 4 other guys they'll be matched up with along the way?
Take this, or
I'll throw it to you in a second, but I'm a talker, as you can tell here, and there's a lot of things you can manufacture that help that. So the first Sunday off after the first 2 exhibition games, we're doing a team building event on a country club out in Auburn at Bridgewater. And what we're doing is making sure that every foursome plays with guys that have never been playing on the ice together. So for those 5 hours, it forces you to start asking questions. You're riding in a cart. You're obviously competing for the pride just in the game. So you put guys in scenarios that start force them to ask questions, learn about each other. We got some great sponsors in combat ops. We do all sorts of team building events. I think it's important to learn about the player and girlfriends and wives at the same time. So any sort of team building that involves dinners or lunches, you can really find out a lot about these people. And strategically, we can place people inside the locker room. I wouldn't put 4 Komets in a row that all played here and then leave all the newcomers out there. You want to kind of sprinkle them in where people can ask questions. Hey, what's it like in this situation? Or what do you guys do on this day? So you got to be creative and manufacture those types of ideas and those types of off-building things. But it was knowing that it's going to be a brand new culture and knowing that we didn't have a lot of guys coming back. That was one of our big things that we've gone out and put a few things in place already to know that, come game 1, we're going to be playing Kalamazoo that's had Nick Bootland there for almost a decade and a core of guys that it's not going to be a brand new thing when they're coming in. So how do we get to be the team that we need to be as quick as we can possibly be? So throughout training camp, they're going to spend a lot of lunches, dinners together, the team building event, and throughout the season, you just got to stay on top of it and maintain it. So I probably rambled on where I took maybe a couple things out of your
That's all
answer,
right. But I mean, it might sound cliche, but I mean, our goal eventually, I mean, it's to get the whole team to play for that crest in front of their jerseys, not the individual in the back. It's a little cliche, but that's really what we want. And, you know, we understand too, I mean, from us playing is you can't be friends with every player on the team. We understand that. You'll get, you know, more comfortable and friendlier with some guys on the team. But one thing we want to make sure is that they all respect each another when they're in the room, and they all want to fight for each another. Now, when the rink and the practice and the games are done and they go back home to their apartment, they don't need to be all together. They can have some guys that they get more, you know, they want to go play go movie or whatever. But when we're at the rink, we want them all to fight for each other and want to be together. That's the identity that we want to create in our locker room, and that's our job to, you know, to make sure that the history, they understand it. Every player that's been recruited here, we had a nice recruiting video that was done by this staff in the front office, and they did a great job, and they know the history. Now it's to show them and to show them around and for them to understand it. So
and just the last thing too, not to get the last word in, but you can see that one of the biggest things that I know, and it's not a secret either. The first year I was here in Fort Wayne, we lost to Colorado in the conference finals there. I saw Blake Sebring, I don't know how many times you referenced it, a brotherhood. You know, there was a brotherhood in that locker room. It started with Bobby Shea and Sidlowski, both coming from St. Clair, and there's, you know, the Curtis Leonards of the world in there. They just brought a group together. And last year we had a lot of great players, but we didn't have that connection inside that locker room. And so for us, when we took over here, we made that a priority, is to go after the character of the person before the talent on the ice. And like I said, we've got a lot of great characters inside that locker room. So I don't foresee it being a problem with them gelling real quick.
and then no, I'm just kidding.
Well, before we get to any other questions,
Yep.
since this is your first time on with us,
Yep.
how about you tell us about your story, where you
Okay.
came from playing, and
Yeah.
what led you all the way up here?
So get your Google Maps out. I'm going to tell you where I'm from, and you've probably heard it from Larry, but it's pretty hard to understand. I grew up in Chibougamau, Quebec, which is way up north or down north. Chibougamau, Quebec. So it's a Cree name. I grew up with a bunch of Cree natives, and it was just a little town. My dad was a miner for well over 18 years. My mom was a nurse. Played in a little town. There was no travel team. It was just they would make 4 or 5 teams that was B. You know, there's a C, a B, an A, and double travel teams. There was just 3 B teams. So that's how we played. And when the mine closed, I was about 10 years old, and my mom was a nurse, and I had a grandma that was close to Montreal, and we moved there. And that's when I really got to see some competitive hockey. And here I am, I'm 11 years old and about 6'1", 230 pounds. And from Chibougamau, they're like, geez, are they all like this over there? Let's go recruit a couple more. So just start playing more competitive hockey, double C. And then the next year, here I am playing double A, waiting to get drafted in the major junior, the highest level hockey league where Sidney Crosby played into. Played 4 years there, got drafted in the NHL by the Florida Panthers when I was 18. And then obviously didn't sign a $1 million contract because I probably wouldn't be here. And then went to play my first year in 2007, 2008 with the Komets. And it was just a great experience. I was here, we had a great season. Probably one of the best teams I've ever seen in my life played part, and it was just a great experience. We had such a good team, and that year got me to play for went to the main camp for the Kings. And then after that, came back here, left for Kalamazoo after 2 years, came back here, finished my career here, married a local girl, Rachel, and got 3 kids, bought a house, got a green card, and I wasn't going back. So, and after that, I started coaching around town and helping out. Colin Chuck was at the rink one day, and he was doing a U18 program that he needed help with. That's when he got the Kalamazoo job. And he said, hey, would you like to help me? So I started helping him with his U18 team, which was AWP at the time, and started coaching them, helping out on the road with Shafranov, and then got into the coaching. Coached Carroll the next year after, was there for 3 years, and just a great experience. And then I saw Shafranov left the Komets as a coaching, and so I went to go see Gary, and I said, hey, if you need any help, it'd be my pleasure to help you. And thanks to Gary, he gave me the opportunity in the Komets, and the Frankies, and I just started helping out, being the eye in the sky in the games and the press box. And so I just started helping, and would go in between periods and just kind of give my 2 cents on what would happen, and just learning. And then one day at Christmas, I think Ben was there too, right before Christmas. Gary and Ben, they just I had a little routine when they would go in and say the little speech before the game started. I would go back up after they talk. I would go in the press box, and then Benny and Gary looked at me and said, "Where are you going? You're staying behind the bench tonight." And I was like, "Are you serious?" And it was just a great moment, and it was very nice of them. And from that point on, I started being behind the bench, and then I started being full-time volunteer last year. And here I am today, signed my first contract, and thank you to everybody. And there's just a great experience. I was a great organization to play for, and it's even better to coach for. So very, very happy.
I want to just speak real quick to the work ethic from Olivier. And I think everybody knows who's ever met him is, the guy wears his heart on his sleeve. But when we first met him, I was showing up really early. It was just my thing. You have your coffee, you get set up. I'd be at work by 6:15 every day. And he asked me one day, he says, when are you coming in? And I says, I come in early. So he beats me there the next morning. He's there at 6 o'clock waiting. He's got a coffee and says, where have you been? And so, so now it starts becoming a competition. Who can get there early? And he would be there until about 11:30. And then a lot of people don't know, he'd go work a regular job for 8 hours. This was volunteer for him in the first few years of him doing this, didn't get any money. And he would come early in the morning, 6 after taking care of 3 kids, dropping them off, and 11:30 he's done at the rink, and then he goes 12 to 8, and then he calls me one night after that, and I'm sure he can't wait to get home. He says, "Hey, I'm still running. I'm still the head coach of the high school team, or the U18 team. Yeah. I'm going to go run a practice until about 11 o'clock at night." And I'm thinking this is crazy, but this is a daily occurrence for him. And I knew his work ethic from day one because he was a genuine family guy who would always want to put his priorities where they were. And the guy would work 18 hours a day at times and never complained, not once. And I just know he's a genuine Komet for life. This was a really easy decision to make him a part of this family here. So he proved it over the years.
Well, thank you. And one special person for that, too, is my lovely wife, Rachel, that, lets me do what I like. And good plug-in, huh?
Oh, yeah.
And also...
fourth kid on the way.
One thing, too, is Rick Bayansky, the owner, and Mike Burgess, PPI Petroleum Parts, they've been very, helped me work with my schedule, and they will allow me to get on the road and help them out, and just made the dream come true. So special thank you to them too. So
that's the plug, just in case we get fired, right?
Exactly. I need a job after this.
Yeah, it might be coming back.
That's really smart thinking, actually. Yeah. All right, so coming up through playing, what was one of your best memories as a Komet besides winning the cup? And then what was one of the ones that you'd like to forget?
Well, the best memory, and sorry if I repeat myself, but I mean, a lot of people know me for the knockout, the David Segal knockout. And I mean, that was an awesome night. I mean, it was just his pack house. I believe it was almost a special jersey, but Saturday nights are always a full house. And here I am, you fight a guy and it's like hitting a home run. He ate the whole punch, and next thing he's 3 minutes on the ice, knocked out, and they got the bell ring, and I'm in the penalty box, and it's just a great feeling. It's just knocking a grand slam, and just you're home, and everybody, and you walk out the rink that night, and you just everybody wants to see you take pictures. Just a special moment. A funny story though is playoff my first year. And we're in the press box. I'm not playing in the playoffs. And me and Warner, so there's 5 minutes left. We're winning against Port Huron. I'm sure you guys all remember. And so me and Warner and a couple other guys were getting dressed to jump on the ice and celebrate. And this is karma. There's a minute left. You guys all remember they score and tie it up. And here we are in our full gear. It's dry, but next thing you know, we win in triple overtime. So we spend a full game in our gear, but didn't sweat. And it was just it's a great moment. Here we are. We win the cup, and I didn't play one playoff game. And the next day we go get the newspaper and here I am on the front page with the cup with Legault, and they're probably like, "Who's that guy? He didn't play." So it's just a special moment. It's funny. I thought it was just a good memory. And the worst one is, I mean, it's funny, and it was a bad moment. It was a trip in Muskegon, and it was in playoff too. The second year, I believe, or the first year. And I've never liked to nap before games. Just couldn't do it. I was just not part of me. And I'm not playing that game. We're in Muskegon, so there's a mall by the hotel, and we go to the mall, or I went to the mall just to walk around, kill some time, And I go eat at Cuisino Sub right beside the hotel, and get out of the Quiznos, and I got 4 undercover cops, different cars that just surround me, and they're just, you got identification on you, got some paper, and here I am. I got nothing. I got my tracksuit that says the Komets, and I got my per diem in my pocket. That's it. And I got a Quebec license, and I was lucky enough. They thought I was somebody on the wanted list, that they saw me going through the mall, and they recognized, and they thought it was me. And if I didn't have my ID on me, I was probably going to Muskegon jail that night and saying I'm Canadian. They probably would have deported me back. And it was just a funny story. I was lucky, but it was a scary moment at the same time, because they were very, very, very strict until I was able to prove who I am. So,
so you talked about the Seagal fight.
Mhm.
Besides that one, what's one that really just sticks out in your mind? Because everybody always loved to watch them. I still pull up YouTube videos sometimes.
Well, a big fight I thought that was a good one was Retlich. I don't know if you guys remember him. He played in the NHL for the New York Islanders. But the funny story is, my second year, he played a little bit in Kalamazoo. And so my first year I played pro, he was still playing juniors, and I had beat the living out of him in juniors. And let me tell you what, he got Popeye's recipe, because when he showed up 2 years after, I wanted his milkshake, because he was pretty big. And you could tell when I fought him the second time. It was a good fight, too. And he was actually, I think he got the little hand on me on this fight. And he was punching a lot harder than 2 years ago. So it was a good moment. It was a home crowd, and it was in Kalamazoo. And he didn't stay there long. He stayed there maybe 5-10 games. Then he went up in the American League, and next thing you know, he's playing in the NHL. So that was pretty cool.
It's awesome.
So, question from a viewer: any more information about goalies coming in?
Yeah, we do. We've got a goalie under contract right now, which is Stephen Dillon, 6'5" kid that played the majority of games in the Niagara Ice Dogs, and been a starter the last 3 years. This guy's got a world of potential. We're also doing a working affiliation with Los Angeles, alongside of not a working affiliation, like an agreement where you don't know what's going to happen sometimes. Is if your affiliate wants to send a goalie, that's great, but you never want to expect a goalie on contract, because their hope is to play at the next level. So you sign contracts with players that you know is capable, and then get you there. And if you get affiliated goalies down in the pipeline, that's just a situation you got to deal with. So we've had our talks with our affiliate, knowing what may be possible, but you can't control that. So the only thing we can control right now is who we sign, and we've got a great goalie in Stephen Dillon under contract right now, and we'll be probably bringing in another 3 goalies for camp minimum here. And right now it's a logjam in the market. People are fighting for spots. There's not enough spots for quality goaltenders out there. So I think in the next two weeks, you're going to probably see another signing for a goalie. But I think we dictate the market there. I think there's a lot of good guys out there. So we're really comfortable with who we have, but we probably will end up getting another one under contract before the season.
All right. Anybody else got any questions that are here? Bill again.
So you mentioned earlier you've got one signing coming up probably this week.
Yeah.
And that you're probably done and leaving the other veteran spot open. Any other prior players still under consideration to come back?
Are you referring to Campagna, obviously? I mean, there's I mean, that's
like you knew.
Yeah, it's not that we're shying away or anything. I mean, you see the guys that we have under contract. JC scored 35 goals. He needs to be in that position. We haven't agreed to terms. We've been talking all year, but the later stages in the summer it goes. I mean, it's tough because you look up and down the lineup and the position he needs to play right now. We've got guys for those positions. So It's just back and forth in negotiations. Right now, we're in a spot. I think we're pretty comfortable. We've been talking to JC on the regular here, and he knows what the deal is. We know what the deal is, and we still got 4 weeks before the start of the season to make something happen. So we've been in touch with him. It's not like we've just been leaving him in a corner to rot and dry. So we'll see what ends up happening. No, absolutely. So it's no, those things are good, and you just keep all your avenues open. I think last year we came to a situation where we didn't have any contracts. When Chase Stewart came available, so we didn't want to get into that situation again. Just because that happens, guys go to training camp hoping to earn an American League contract, and when they don't, they start looking at the East Coast, and you want to have some contracts available just in case something happens for somebody you just don't want to turn away, and maybe your division rival ends up getting these guys. So that's going to be a big thing for us, is making sure we have some space in case somebody gets out there, but we're not going to hope and wish. So we've solidified what we need with our defense core, our goalies, and our forward group. So we're really comfortable going into training camp, and after this week passes, I think everybody will be able to kind of look at the roster and see what we've done here over the summer and say, okay, well, let's get the puck drop going, because I know we're excited, and I know the fans should be too, because we got a lot of great players here on this team so far.
Anybody else got any questions? Don't be shy. Bueller. Anything at all? No? Man, quiet crowd. All right. I got a message from somebody. Can you explain what it means when you say a working relationship or working affiliation with the Kings, how it's different from, say, Vegas?
I don't know all the paperwork or anything like that. I just, Manchester folded last year, and, it's the same thing with Springfield, or, Arizona might have done it in a couple other teams. So sometimes they don't have an affiliation where if they need to send a player, you might have an unofficial working agreement where your team is the spot they might send a player to. So, but that means they could send them to anywhere. We're just not an official affiliate, but they don't have a working partnership with an East Coast Hockey League team. So we've got a good relationship with them. We just stay in touch. If we need to bounce some questions off them and say, hey, what do you think about this guy? You've got somebody in the organization that can give a good report on them. It's just another set of eyes where you can help in your recruiting efforts and all that stuff too. So it's, probably sounds a lot fancier than what it really is, quite honestly, not to bring you down or disappoint, but
well, wasn't my question.
Yeah. Sorry out there.
So you got to experience walking in the Three Rivers Festival Parade. What was your reaction to it?
I think it's unbelievable. I thought it was one of and not just as a Comet fan, but the city of Fort Wayne. It's great. We are so fortunate to be in such a great community. It's unbelievable. And that's why I think you see so many former players end up living here. Like Olivier, we want to be here. We got a house, my wife, my child. I mean, this is a great place. We want to be here as long as we can. Know that you've got to do a job every single year, but to walk in there and see that many people, it was unbelievable. And I mean, the support for the Komets and everything, there's the people of this community get behind so many different events. It's great. It's a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to be. So I was just happy I didn't get booed in that first week. So it was off to a good start, but it was very cool. I just, I can only imagine what it would be like now, walking with a cup over our head downtown with the same people shouting. That would be a little bit of a cooler thing. So that's going to be the next one. I hope that we walk in.
Anybody else? Anybody? You got anything?
Powers or Coney Island?
Tell the story. Tell the story
Yeah,
about
this
Powers.
is funny. But I hope everybody knows Powers and Coney Island, because these are two phenomenal spots in Fort Wayne. So if I have anybody visiting from Fort Wayne for the first time, we got to take them to one or the other. And so when I was new here, Legs and I would go out for lunch, and we did Coney Island. Unbelievable. Loved it. Take a lot of friends, family when they're into town, and he says, let's go to Powers. I said, what's this? And he says, oh, it's just a little burger joint. We got to go and try. So we went in our tracksuits. And, you eat in Powers, unbelievable burgers. But we sat in the place for about 20 minutes while they're right next to the grill where they're grilling onions and doing all the food. And I don't think anything of it. We eat our burgers. We're there for 30, 40 minutes. We get out. I go back to the Coliseum, I change, we hang out for a bit, and I go home. I leave my tracksuit in the office. We come back the next day. We open the door to the office, and like a punch in the face, there's Mr. Onion just staring at you. This smell that followed us in our car, in the tracksuit, in the office, everywhere. Like I had to get a brand new tracksuit. And I'm sorry, I'm not knocking anybody from Powers. Or food was unbelievable, but this was a story because it was like the Seinfeld smelly car episode where they couldn't get rid of the BO. It was just Powers hamburgers in my car. So anything I touched, it attached itself to. So it was, I would take
hiding where we went to eat that day.
No. Coney Island for me, I just think it's a staple. They've been here for so long, so it's that's where I would take anybody.
If it makes you feel any better, I'm a huge cigar guy, and if I need to hide the smell from the wife, I go to Powers because it literally masks the smell of cigars. So,
Well, she knows what you're doing when you're going to Powers now.
yeah. Where you been? Nope.
But we're not knocking it. Great food. Great food.
At least she can't smell the cigars, and that's all she cares about.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we got another question from a viewer. Have you started practice yet? And will you practice at the Coliseum or Ice House?
Go ahead.
We no, we haven't practiced yet. We this will start, we're a little before training camp, September, but we're not allowed actually to practice, so we'll have ice for the guys, but we'll practice at boat. We do boat during the year depending on concert and depending what's going on at the Coliseum. So that's what dictates our schedule where we practice is how many shows there is booked there, and so that's we do boat.
As our practice is something where people can come out to watch, or
I think typically in years past it's always been closed to the public, but I've heard that we will be opening training camp to our fans this year with the Coliseum. Don't quote me on that because I don't want you getting mad at me.
Oh, it
but
happened already.
Yep,
it's quoted.
I have heard that. Can you back me up on this?
That's
Okay.
the rumors. That's the rumor.
He's in the same bus that I am then if it doesn't work out, but I think it'd be a cool thing. So Monday is our first, Monday the 30th of September is our first full day. I think we end up practicing in the afternoon, late afternoon. We do our physicals and, our press luncheon where everybody meets the media and everything like that too. So our first meeting is on the 29th. Our first official day on the ice is late afternoon on the 30th.
The biggest thing too, to talk about boat, give it a little background, is the ice house is you better wear some warm clothes when you go there because it's pretty cold, and it's the biggest thing we get from our players. It's just it's a very, very cold environment. Obviously it's an arena, but it's extra cold. I don't think the heat was ever installed there, and it's just good though. The ice is great.
No, it got hot at state worse. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I was sweating watching hockey, and that's not normal.
Well, hence the name Ice House. That's I would expect if it wasn't cold, I would say, what's going on with this ice house?
Yeah, it's not the warm house, but
I've played in Charleston. I've played in a couple Southern teams. Believe me, I would take the good ice in a cold place rather than
definitely
mushy stuff out there.
and there's nothing like being a little chilly watching hockey. If you're not, it just doesn't feel like
Yeah.
hockey.
absolutely.
I
Got
can
to have
back
a
you up
cold
on
beer
that.
and cold weather. You're good.
I
Living
don't
in
know.
Pensacola was weird going into a hockey game in shorts. I didn't
That's
like
weird.
that. One more question.
Just, we ask everybody the question. I know we asked you, Ben, and I'd like to hear it from Olivia. That when you were playing, what was your favorite barn to play in and the worst to play in?
Well, I played in the IHL, which was, there's not many rinks to go visit. But I say Flint had to be the worst one. I mean, when you went into Flint, you felt like you're doing episode 14 or something. I mean, the lights are flickering. I mean, the shower is not working. And it's just, but the fans, though, when it was full in there, I mean, it was they were close to you and very in your face. But that's probably the worst barn I've played into. And obviously my favorite has to be the Komets. I mean, from the opening night, and if you would take the Komets away, when I played, in Kalamazoo, when it's full, it's a small rink, and it's just when it's full, it feels very, very close to the fan, and it's very intimidating to play there. So might have invented a new word right there, but that has to be my my two favorite rinks.
Benny can tell you all about Flint, I'm sure.
Yeah, there was, you know what? I don't think it was as bad as Dayton. Dayton would have been mine for sure. They had rats running around everywhere. There was no space on the bench. And, Flint, you don't even realize it's that bad because you're there every single day. So
Yeah.
it would be a little different. For me, it was always Dayton.
Who was it we interviewed that said the sewage backed up at Dayton during a game? Was that you?
It wouldn't have been me.
It
I
was
would've-
someone more recent. but-
Yeah. Somebody said that they called the game, got everybody out of the building because sewage was running down the hallways.
I never heard that, but it would not surprise me in the least little bit if that was true.
Yeah, another beautiful rink that we played at my first year was Bloomington. Bloomington was a nice rink. It was it looked fairly new when we played there, and it's just when that place was full. It was beautiful place to play.
But we get a chance this year to do a road trip to Idaho, and for anybody that hasn't been, it's a really cool rink they have downtown. They got a hotel attached to it, so you could open the curtains and literally be watching right at the rink level, which I think is really cool. You go outside your room, you hit the button for the elevator, it'll take you right down to the locker room. It's a pretty unique thing. So anybody that's going to Idaho this year is going to get a pretty cool surprise, I think, too. Great spot to be, as long as we're winning.
Right.
So, one of our viewers, he's moving to Orlando here in September. Do you know off the top of your head when you'll be playing down there?
February
1st? Something like that. I think it's the first.
First
play in Jacksonville.
Yeah, well, I think it's the first 3 days of Florida that we're down there. We play a home, two-game home set against or on the road against Toledo, and then I think we're heading down to Florida. So I think it would be right at the beginning of February.
You're playing Jacksonville and Orlando?
Twice, and then Florida, I believe.
Yeah,
Everblades.
Okay, Everblades.
Expensive hotels down there. I've already looked.
at that time of the year.
Yeah, spring break time. Any other questions? Got one if somebody doesn't have it. Legs, what was your most hated guy to play against when you played?
My most hated guy had to be Port Huron. I'm sure you guys remember Merlini. I mean, he was just a pest to play against. He's a kind of little guy. I mean, not too tall, but he knew how to get under your skin, and he made people get some 2 minutes a lot of time. He had to be the guy. Yeah. I can't remember his first name. I just know it was Merlini.
I can't remember it either. I remember him. Brett. Yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
He was the little guy that always pissed everybody off. Any other questions? Anybody? Silence.
That was a good one, though. Good
Yeah,
duration.
it was good.
Yeah.
Pretty long,
Offer to
yeah.
Stay with
Oh, hey. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. I got a free place to stay. How about
But he's
that?
bringing me an Ed too. So.
You're going to need a lot bigger couches. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate it.
Hey, big thank you to you and Ruth for having us, and everybody that was here.
Absolutely.
Thanks
thanks
as
for
always,
listening.
Ruth. Thank you.
No pressure.
That's fine.
Anybody else can tell me that, and it might not have the same effect. But if you tell me that, I know we're trying to win the first one for you, Ruth.
Anytime you want to call a meeting, we'll come right back here.
And when you need Fitbit, let me know.
Oh yeah, she'll know what to do with that cane if we're not winning. So
All right, guys. I think we'll call it a day.
October 12th,
Thank you.
home game.
Yep.
Tailgate party.
Oh, yeah. We're doing a big tailgate party, too, for the 12th. You guys want to make an appearance? You don't have to. You'll be busy.
I mean, you have to walk through the parking lot anyway.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Thanks a
Thank
bunch.
you.
Thank you.